There are 10,000 species of birds on this planet. I guess I can't be too upset that there's 2 bird Pokémon already. The research continues as we dive beak first into the similarities of our world and all existing Pokémon. And I've come to find out that Pidgey's bad boy counterpart Spearow has some ominous lore, and Fearow may even be the demon of the sky. Let's discover what the Spearow family is based on in real life. To start, in English, sparrow is clearly the combination of a spear, referring to its pointy beak being a weapon, and sparrow, the bird that Pidgey is based on. Oh, Pokemon, will the confusion ever cease? For Fearow, spear is dropped and replaced with fear. Pretty spooky, but not as much as their Japanese names suggest. Spearow in Japanese is onisuzume and Fearow is onidoriru. The suffix Suzume can be translated to sparrow and Doriru to drill. Now, you may have noticed these Pokemon share the same prefix of oni, which is actually a type of demon in Japanese folklore. So we have the demonic sparrow and the demonic drill. Step aside, Gengar, there's a new demon in Lavender Town. Before we continue to real-life animals, let me dust off this old Japanese folklore book because I'm quite curious on what these oni things are all about. So it says here that oni are terrifying demons that are often depicted as fearsome beings with red or blue skin with wild hair and multiple horns. They are born from the souls of wicked humans who have descended into one of the many Buddhist hells, where they serve as brutal enforcers with their immense strength and sorcery. Occasionally, depraved humans may transform into an oni while still alive and become a living terror to humankind. The origins of oni trace back to a time when the term encompassed all spirits, ghosts, and monsters, and has evolved over centuries to represent any feared creature of Japanese mythology. There are countless stories about oni, and they are always shown as supernatural villains. Okay. I'm not so sure that Spearow is necessarily a demon. I mean, they're kind of mischievous, but I wouldn't say they have demonic powers. This may be a bit of an overreaction. Like, who named these Pokemon? Probably some disgruntled cabbage farmer. Anyways, even though birds don't have demonic power in real life, they do have amazing abilities. Like in the Ruby Pokedex entry that states Spearow has a very loud cry that can be heard over half a mile away. If it's high, keening cry is heard echoing all around. It is a sign that they are warning each other of danger. Birds do this in real life too. Bird calls are incredibly diverse and are used as communication to coordinate movement within flocks, signal the presence of food, and warn each other of danger. Some make complex sounds to attract mates or establish territory. For example, the loudest bird in the world, the white bellbird, produces sound at 125 decibels, which is the approximate loudness of a rock concert, and can be heard a mile away, twice the distance of a sparrow's. Also, they do this just to impress their potential partner. This is like if Professor Oak just screamed at Ash's mom and asked impressed. This is essentially what the white bellbird does. The range of bird calls can vary significantly depending on the species and habitat. Larger birds like hawks may produce calls that travel over long distances, while smaller birds in dense forests may have shorter range calls that are easily heard through the thick foliage. And just like a sparrow, birds use their calls for alerting others to danger. Many species have specific alarm calls that differ from their everyday communication. Some species can even tailor their calls to indicate the type of predator or level of threat, allowing them to take the most appropriate evasive action. Amazing! Now it's time to find out what specific birds the Spearow family is on Earth. But first, real peck the like and subscribe buttons. When looking at a sparrow, I noticed their short stature, brown body, pale red wings, beige underbelly, and dark brown plumage on its head. So without a doubt, it has to be a bird. Yes, nailed it. Again, we are presented with a Pokemon that is clearly a bird conglomerate without an obvious real-world counterpart. And while its name suggests a connection to sparrows, it actually shares more personality traits with a species known as a shrike. These small predatory birds are known for their fierce behavior. Sound familiar? Shrikes are often referred to as butcher birds, and for a good reason. They have a brutal habit of using their hooked beak to impale their prey and then slam them on thorns, barbed wire, or any sharp thing they can find. Remember when that flock of Spearow famously chased Ash through the woods in the first episode of the anime? They really sent 10-year-olds out into this danger, huh? It's known that Spearow is highly territorial and is quick to attack anything it perceives as a threat. So the sharp talons, hooked beak, and aggression of a shrike perfectly captures the essence of Spearow far more than the docile sparrow, which ironically has been claimed by Pidgey anyways. Now, evolving into Fearow, we have a large brown bird Pokémon with an elongated neck, pointed beak, and large wingspan. All characteristics being a ridiculous departure from its short-winged, stubby-beaked, sassy pre-evolved form. Another glow-up, as they say. Fearow's red and blue Pokédex entry states with its huge and magnificent wings it can keep aloft without ever having to land for rest. Biology fun fact time! Did you know that the record for longest flight time of any real bird belongs to the common swift? While it doesn't have a magnificent wingspan, it still spends its entire 10-month non-breeding period in the air. Incredible! However, this certainly isn't the bird Fearow is based on. Let's check a different Pokédex entry to get some more information. The Ruby entry states Fearow is recognized by its long neck and elongated beak. They are conveniently shaped for catching prey in soil or water. It definitely moves its long and skinny beak to pluck prey. Now we're getting somewhere. Fearow appears to be based on several different bird species. Its predatory nature suggests some and its appearance suggests others. Also, that conveniently shaped beak gives us an interesting clue. Let's look at a few bird species and make our own conclusions for science. The first is hawks and eagles. The apex predators of the sky are renowned for their keen hunting abilities and powerful physiques. Did you know that both of these birds belong to the family Accipitridae? But eagles are generally larger and more robust, while hawks are swift and agile hunters. Just like with Fearow, their predatory nature is reflected in their sharp hooked beaks, which are perfectly adapted for tearing through the flesh of their prey. These birds of prey rely also on their extraordinary eyesight to spot potential meals from great heights, often swooping down with insane precision. Luckily for them, eagles have wingspans that can stretch up to 7 feet, so they can soar effortlessly for up to a few hours. They can just stay up there and scan for food. This sounds quite familiar to Fearow's Pokédex entry. Speaking of wild wingspans, there is another carnivorous bird that soars the skies that we should study. Vultures are the remarkable scavengers that are known as nature's cleanup crew. Unlike the predatory hawks and eagles, they primarily feed on carrion and rely on their exceptional sense of smell and sharp eyesight to locate animal remains from miles away. Their large hooked beaks are perfectly designed for tearing into tough hides of fainted animals. With wingspans that can reach up to 10 feet, like that of the Andean condor, vultures can soar effortlessly on thermal currents, conserving energy as they cover vast distances in search of food. The longest known time without landing was 6 hours. Their bald heads are less of a fashion statement and more of a way to help them stay clean while feeding on decaying bodies, reducing the risk of bacterial infections. Vultures are often misunderstood due to their association with animal faintings, but they are absolutely crucial in preventing the spread of disease. Think of vulture the next time you see them floating around like a flying Roomba. On to the last species of birds that shares a fearsome resemblance. While cormorants have hooked bills for scooping fish out of the water, it is the darters who are the true anglers. Remember how Fearow has a conveniently shaped beak for catching prey in the water while it moves its long and skinny beak to pluck prey? Well, darters use their spear-like beaks to impale their prey, which requires them to perform an elaborate maneuver to toss the fish from beak to throat after they catch it from the water. Specifically, the oriental darter found in Asia, also known as the snake bird, stands out as a highly specialized member of this aquatic bird family. When it dries its wings, it looks just like a Fearow to me. The oriental darter's slender neck and long tail give it a snake-like appearance, especially when it swims with just its head and neck above water. Imagine a Fearow in the water. There's no doubt it would look like that drawing of the fabled Loch Ness Monster. But we'll get to Lapras later. Before we wrap up, one last bird just popped into my head. Just really quick, Fearow, I must ask, what is on your head? Are you really just a giant rooster with a big flashy comb to impress females? This is getting too ridiculous, so it's time to find out. Who's that Pokémon? It's a Shrike and an Oriental Darter, with maybe a splash of Oni demonic power and dash of rooster seductiveness. It's Spearow and Fearow in real life. I am ready for a bird break after studying so many fluttering fellows. But if you can't wait to learn more about them in the future Psyduck episode, make sure you don't miss the Pidgey episode where we found out why it is actually not a pigeon.